What is business valuation like from a lender's perspective?
The lender has a viewpoint that's much more harsh than even the buyer, much less the seller. The lender is looking to CYA. We don't need to know what that stands for. If you don't know what it is, it means cover yourself carefully. So a lender will always undervalue something if they possibly can. So when they have me, and I get hired by lenders to do valuations, what they'll tell me to do is, we want you to do the valuation but use liquidation value. Now typically when I do a business valuation, I use what's called fair market value. Fair at both sides, but there's also other aspects called, in this case, fair liquidation value. The fair liquidation value is what the bank or the lender cares about. In other words, I mentioned a computer store in the past. Suppose someone got an SBA loan for that computer store, and the buyer says, all right, I agree to pay $250,000 for that, goes to the SBA and says, SBA, Bank of North Carolina, lend me $250,000. The bank hires me to come in, if I were not already involved in that transaction, and said, do a valuation of this business and use liquidation value, because if the person who buys the business doesn't succeed, the bank takes it back. Goodwill is worth $0 to them. It's like, what can we liquidate it for? What's the value of the inventory? What's the value of the computers on the shelf, etc., etc.? And the liquidation value might be 10, 15, 20 cents on the dollar. So the lender's perspective of business valuation is drastically less, even much less than the buyer's view of the business, because they're looking at worst case scenario, what do we recover? And by the way, when you go to the bank or the SBA to borrow money to buy a small business, understand this: you will have to sign a personal guarantee, and you will have to put up other property in most cases to get an SBA loan. So if you're going to buy that computer store for $250,000, the bank says, well, there's only $25,000 worth of liquidation value in the assets of that business. They're going to say, if we lend you $250,000, you're going to have to put your house up as collateral, etc., etc., or they're not going to make that loan. So that's the lender's perspective. It's harsh.